Hello everyone and welcome to Dark Legends. Tonight I'm going to tell you a horror story that reminds us that reality is not always what it seems. This legend goes back many years ago, when a disturbed cab driver made a warning to his passengers about a mysterious entity that was following them everywhere. What really happened? Is this legend just a superstition, or is there some truth to it? Come listen to the story and find out the truth behind the legend.
The disturbed cab driver was a middle-aged, gray-haired, brown-eyed man. He wore a baseball cap and a brown leather jacket. He was always smiling and had a friendly attitude with his passengers, but at the same time, something in his look made them uncomfortable. He drove his cab around town, and the atmosphere was always quiet and depressing. Sometimes he would ask questions about the passengers, questions that were usually unpleasant and suspicious. Passengers began to avoid the cab driver and would tell others that they felt uncomfortable in his presence. Each night, the cab driver would pick up a passenger who seemed particularly nervous. The passenger would give him an address, but the passenger would not arrive at his destination. The cab driver would drive a different route, each time driving farther and farther away from the original address. Sometimes, the passenger could see through the windows of the cab and would discover that they were in an unfamiliar place. The passenger would try to tell the cab driver that he wanted to go somewhere else, but the cab driver would not respond. The passenger would finally realize that the cab had been driven back to the place of departure, and the cab driver would smile at him in a way that would leave them frozen in fear. The cab driver began telling his passengers stories about a terrifying figure he had seen in the city. He said the figure was a mysterious entity with a sinister presence and an ominous voice. He said it followed them everywhere, even if the passengers changed direction. Passengers began to fear for their lives, wondering what would happen to them if the figure caught them. Some said the cab driver was lying, but others believed it was a real warning. Soon, the stories were scattered around town, and everyone began to avoid the cabbie. No one wanted to risk running into the terrifying entity. And although it was never known whether the figure was real or not, the legend spread, leaving everyone with the same question: who was it? Everyone had the same question: who was the disturbed cab driver, and why was he so obsessed with deceiving his passengers? Who or what was behind the terrifying figure the cab driver was talking about? Was it really a threat or just an urban legend? People didn't know, and they began to avoid the cab driver and cabs in general. The disturbed cab driver left, and people never knew the truth. But the legend of the terrifying figure is still told today, leaving people with a sense of unease and fear.
This horror story reminds us that sometimes things are not what they seem and that appearances can be deceiving. The disturbed cab driver was a seemingly friendly man, but in reality he was hiding a terrifying mystery. I hope you enjoyed this legend and got goosebumps. If you want more haunting tales, don't forget to subscribe to Dark Legends. Best regards and see you in the next video.